Hello everybody. Today we would like to talk about data conversion, migration from your legacy accounting. It might be something like QuickBooks, Btrieve, maybe Great Plains DOS, other small business packages, to the new application. And in this video we will consider that you are actually migrating to Microsoft Dynamics GP. Let's talk first about the failures and what the typical causes of the failures. The most typical case when your data conversion fails, it's when you expect everything to be migrated. So it's unrealistic. Theoretically you can migrate everything, but it will require a lot of consulting hours and will be definitely over budget. We would recommend you to consider migrating so-called master records, such as customers, vendors, classes, addresses, jail accounts, and plus you should migrate so-called open records, including customer invoices of current year, vendor invoice of current year, jail transactions of current year, and do not migrate historical records, such as past years, meaning like closed years in history of GL, historical invoices of AP, and other historical records. Theoretically, you can migrate historical records as well, but this should be done through Integration Manager when you have open years. Okay, now let's just consider that you have something like Great Plains Accounting, for example, for DOS. And in this case, you don't really need data conversion, because there is migration tool which will bring your Great Plains Accounting version 9.5 to Great Plains Dynamics version 8. So, and then you just do a regular upgrade up to version 2016, as we're recording this in autumn of 2016. In this situation, everything will be converted, so you'll have all the history, everything. Now, if you are on Great Plains Accounting, then you definitely should go to Dynamics GP, because you have a migration tool, and you don't want to migrate to something like SAP Business One, for example, where you would need like full scale data conversion, massage, and migration. Okay. This is Great Plains Account Windows, and then for DOS interface, and in this case, as I mentioned, you don't have to do data conversion. There is migration tool to Dynamics GP. Next, what I would like to talk about is connection to legacy database. They might be various scenarios. Some applications are, like legacy applications, are on platforms like Btrieve, later rebranded like Pervasive SQL 2000, or C3. In these scenarios, you just need ODBC connection to these databases. In the case of Btrieve, you need DDF file, the data definition file, so-called. In the case of proprietary databases, like small accounting, usually they also might have proprietary databases. In this case, what you do, you print reports into text files, and then you import them to Excel, or if you have a large volume of transactions, you better use import to a SQL custom table, and then you weed out like page headers, report headers, page numbers, and like empty lines, and then you export them to text files, or you connect via ODBC directly from Integration Manager. This should do the job. Some resellers really don't have technology expertise and cannot connect to these databases. So you should, before you pick somebody, you should really check with them if they have this expertise. We got questions from the listeners for our web seminars, and I would like to answer on some of them here. One of the questions is about like merging several companies into one. This is when your business actually transformed and you were bought out by somebody, or you consolidated your companies into one legal entity. And on the other hand, you may implement something like multi-entity module from binary stream software, where consolidation is required. The question is, how do we handle this? My recommendation would be first to make regular data migrations to the same companies, entities like you had in legacy accounting, and later you can merge them using either our tool or binary stream software tool, or you can search for other vendors on the market who have similar company combining tools. The second question is about changing chart of accounts. Like in all accounting, you have one chart of accounts, but in new enterprise resource planning system, you would like to have it more clean, to add segments to the accounts. How do we do this? You typically just use the same chart of accounts like you had in the old companies, and you do like a normal conversion, and then when this is done, you can change your chart of accounts, and this is typically done on SQL level through scripts, but it's not really a complex routine, because usually modules in Dynamics GP use just account index, not really the account itself with its segments. They pull account by index, so technically you can change it through SQL scripts. Okay, now I'm gonna show you screen captures with examples of data conversion, data migration, and connection to the legacy databases. Let's take a look at the table structure here. It's tools, resource description, tables. I'll show you the classification of the tables. Let me group by physical name, and in GL, master records, they actually grouped into account master and budget master, and these tables include account master itself plus all the others should be recreated by checklinks more likely. And then let's take a look at, and the account master you need to import via integration manager. I'll show you a little bit later. Now let's switch to, let's say, inventory. Here, let me group by table group technical name. So you would like to import account master, kit master, item vendor master, and few other tables. And you definitely don't want to import historical records. They have prefix 3, transaction history, etc. Historical records in all modules, including inventory control, sales order process, accounts receivable, accounts payable, purchase order process, we recommend you to have your legacy system to be available online for just lookup, in case if your old good days customers will call you and request the information about historical invoice. Let me show you on the example of sales transactions. Here. Okay, so let's take a look at the accounts receivable. So you would like to import customer master, address master, others you will recreate. Then you would like to import. This will be open transactions. You're going to post them before data. So you probably post them first in your legacy, so you don't want to bring them over. And then you have to bring the so-called open transactions, meaning that those transactions have open balance, so they are not yet paid or they are not yet moved to history. And these transactions in sales, in accounts receivable, accounts payable, purchase order processing, you should bring over via integration manager. Let me show you how you do this. Okay, this is integration manager interface. In integration manager, you have all the business logic validated, but the documents, they will come to the so-called work batches, which got to be posted. Okay, so you have sample integrations here, and these integrations include you show GL transactions, then they include chart of accounts, they include master records such as customers, employees if you have payroll. They also have inventory items samples here. They also have vendors here. They also have let's say transactions in payable management, in purchase order processing, in sales order processing, and when they are brought over, they will be recorded into the batch. Let me show you. Let's say sales batches. I'll give you just an example. So this batch is empty. Okay, this batch has three transactions, and let me just show you transactions in the batch. And when you bring them over, you will have to post them. In this case, it's back order. Okay, and this is the batch. When you bring them over via integration manager, then you simply post the batch. If you are converting history, then you would need to open historical years. Here. Okay, so when you set up the system, you should create all the years for the transactions to be posted to. Like for example, here we have multiple, and all these years should be opened. Like this one is closed, but in your case, if you would like to have historical transactions brought over for, let's say, 2010, the year 2010 should be open, and all the fiscal periods should be open for the modulus where you want to brought in transactions and post them to history. When the let's say past year is done, then you simply close it year by year. And apparently you should talk over the balances brought forward in general ledger, because you already convert them. Now let's talk about ODBC. Let me show you the ODBC connection to legacy databases. This is the case of Btrieve, or Pervasive SQL. So you have to install Pervasive Control Center and have so-called DDF files, data definition files, and then you can establish connections through Pervasive SQL Control Center to your legacy database, where you can have like a queries for exporting data into the tables. Like here, I have sample connecting to Great Mesa Accounting database with export from sales order entry